Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil mursaleen, wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa ajma'een, amma ba'd. So I want to pick up al-Umdah from where we left. And we had basically finished the Sifat Salah, or the description of the Salah itself. We talked about sitting iftarashan and tawarrukan and taslim and at-tahiyyat and all of the end of the Salah. And inshallah, with the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we will try to do recaps of many of these things very quickly so we can remember in our mind what we need to learn about our Salah. So we begin the Salah with the niyyah in the heart, we don't say it out loud. And we begin by saying the takbir, by saying Allahu Akbar, and making raf'ul yadayn, raising the hands, and then folding them under the chest and above the navel in any of this area. Above the navel, up to the chest, all of this area, this is acceptable. And this is where you fold the hands from the strongest of the opinions. And we recite the A'udhu billahi samiyul alim minash shaitanir rajim. Before that, you recite Dua al-Istiftah, and then Bismillah, and then Surah Al-Fatiha, and then another surah, and then you raise the hands again, making the raf'ah, getting 10 rewards when you make the raf'ah, saying Allahu Akbar, going into ruku', and then the Subhana Rabbil Adim in ruku', and then raising it again. And we discussed saying it 3 times as a complete minimum, and then increasing from that, and other dua and adhkar that are in the sunnah, but not reciting Quran in the ruku'. And then getting up, raising the hands again, saying Sami' Allahu liman hamida. And then when you're standing, saying Rabbana wa lakal hamd, hamdan kathiran tayyiban mubarakan fi. And based on the hadith of Sa'ad bin Sa'd al-Bukhari and istidlalan from it, again folding the hands back to where they were before ruku'. And then after the adhkar that are so many beautiful adhkar in the sunnah to recite there, Rabbana wa lakal hamd, hamdan kathiran tayyiban mubarakan fi, and others. Then saying Allahu Akbar and going into sujood. And we talked about going with the knees, the feet, the knees, the hands, and then the forehead in sujood, and saying Subhana Rabbil A'la and other adhkar. At minimum saying this 3 times, and that's the bare minimum for a complete way. And then increasing with other dua that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us. Again in sujood you're not allowed to recite the Quran. And then saying Allahu Akbar without raising the hands, and sitting between the 2 sujood, and the importance of that sitting, and saying Rabbi ighfirli, or more the adhkar that are there, Rabbi ighfirli warhamni wahdini wajburni wa'afini warzuqni warafa'ni, and other adhkar that are in the sunnah between the 2 sujood, making the next sujood, getting up for the second rak'ah without making raf'ul yadayn if you're getting up for the second rak'ah, but you say takbir, and then reciting Bismillah, not saying A'udhu Billah again, not making the Istiftah again, reading Al-Fatiha, another surah, then going into ruku' and getting up like you did in the first rak'ah, sitting for the tashahhud, sitting iftarashan, and we explained that already. And if you have 2 tashahhuds, then after the next 2 rak'ah, sitting tawarrukan, and all the making the ishara, we discussed all of that. Tayyib. Now when you've done taslim, the Sifat Salah is finished. And we talked about making adhkar after Salah, and moving from your place if you're going to make sunan. But a very important bab here now are the arkan and wajibat of Salah. And this is the often ignored bab. Many of our tullab ilm, they will be arguing with each other, do you fold your hands here or here? And many of them will make a long argument, do you raise them up to here or here? And they will argue back and forth, even though most of those masail both ways are accepted. If you raise your hands up to your shoulders, the sahih hadith is fine. If you raise it up to your ears, it's a sahih hadith. You don't touch your ears. This is a weird new method some people have developed. But to raise them up to the ears, this is in sahih hadith, it's both fine. But what's very important is to know what things are fard, yani arkan, pillars of your salah. And what things are wajib, obligatory in your salah. And what things are mustahab. They are good, but not arkan or wajibat. Why? Why do we need to learn this? Because if you're making salah, and you're in a rush, and you on purpose leave out a rukn or a wajib on purpose, your salah is batil. You're getting exercise, inshallah, you're stretching, but you're not making salah. And that's what the Prophet ﷺ told, that some people, they will make salah and all they will get out of it is the movements, the exercise. So, if you don't know the arkan, how will you know that this is what I must do? And if you don't know the wajibat, how will you know that this is what I must do? And then, every one of us, may Allah protect us, but be truthful, we make mistakes. Sometime in your life, if you haven't already, you'll make a mistake in salah. Even the Prophet ﷺ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made him make these mistakes to teach us how to fix these. Now, if you leave out a sajda from the 2 sujood, or if you leave out a ruku', or if you leave out al-Fatiha, or you leave out a surah after al-Fatiha, or you leave out saying Rabbi ighfirli, Rabbi ighfirli, how will you remedy your salah? Think about this. How old are you? I mean, I'm not asking you. Think about it. People are watching this video. Don't yell out. Right? And how many salawat have you made? But do you really know how to remedy which problem? And why? You may say, I'll make sujood sahu. But maybe there is no sujood sahu for that reason. You will say, I'll make sujood sahu. But maybe you have to repeat that rukn. You will say, I'll make sujood sahu. Maybe your salah is batil. But if you don't know, this ilm is fardul ayn upon you. It is an individual obligation upon every one of us. Why? Because you make salah, right? Inshallah, all of you make salah? Yes? Then if you make salah, then how to make salah correctly, how to remedy those mistakes and to protect the salah being acceptable, that is fardul ayn upon you. Now, because I know many of you are sitting, and shaitan is sitting next to you as he sits next to me, and he's whispering in our ear saying, what's he talking about? I knew this when I was 5 years old, and I've been making salah, and this guy, what does he know? Okay. Just to make rad on shaitan, who wants to tell me the arkan of salah? Go ahead. Huh? What are they? Qiyam, tayyib. Huh? Tayyib. Ruku', mashallah, you skipped a bunch. Sajda, tayyib.
The second one, I think it's
Takbirat al-ihram, then qiyam, tayyib. Sujood, man. We're not going in order, are we? Surah al-Fatiha, Ruku', Raf'a min al-Ruku'. MashaAllah, may Allah reward you. And these are correct that you're mentioning. But this is very important that we know all of them. Because if you miss any of them, and there are 14 as you said, and there are 8 wajibat, and then there are many mustahabat, but what are they? Every one of us should know them on our fingertips. Why? Because every salah you need them. So inshallah we'll begin today with the arkan of salah. What is a rukn? A rukn is a pillar. It is even more important than what is wajib. Yani those wajibat, these arkan are more important than that. And that is why the arkan are very important in the sense because they lay down the most essential part of your salah. If you leave out a rukn on purpose, your salah is batil. Salah is gone. If you leave out a rukn on accident and don't repeat it, let's say you missed a rukn and you just made sujood sahu, your salah is batil. When you miss a rukn, and inshallah we'll provide a hadith for every single one of them in detail so that your heart is at ease with it. But if you leave a rukn on accident, you have to repeat that rukn and make sujood sahu. Now, do you make sujood sahu before taslim or after taslim? Before. How many brothers say before taslim? Mutlaqan. Yeah. I'm not there yet. How many brothers say before taslim? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. How many say 8? How many say after taslim? 1, 2, 3. But out of like the 100 brothers here, we have like 8 or 10 that have answered. The rest are in the unsure category. You're both wrong. There are some times you make sujood sahu before taslim, which are clear from a hadith. And there are some times you make the sujood sahu after taslim, and those are also clear from sahih hadith. So you have to look at what the issue is that dictates whether it is before or after. And I'm going to go over this in detail, I'm just summarizing. So this is why it's also very important to learn these things. Tayyib, the arkan of salah. And we will inshallah begin in order, so that when you remember things in a sequence, it's easier to remember. The first of them, al-qiyam, for the one who is qadir, and for the fard salah. So we'll talk about fard and nawafil later. But the first is for the one who's able to stand. Let's say you're feeling tired and it's dhuhr salah, one of the fard salawat, and you're thinking, I'm just going to sit down and make salah today. I just don't feel like it. But, and that's very important to know. Because if you're in a car and you're driving and you want to make your fard salah sitting, you cannot. Nafil salawat you can make sitting. And there is dalail for that, and we'll discuss that inshallah. But for the fard salawat, the first rukn is al-qiyam, standing. That's the first. I'm going to ask you guys inshallah at the end of this series of durus, so make sure you pay attention. Tayyib. The second, once you're standing, at-takbiratul ihram, the first takbir. Not the raising of the hands, but saying Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar here, the first time you say it, this is from the arkan, the essentials of the salah. And we'll give you the dalail inshallah. Wait, I'm just giving you the summary first. Next, recitation of Surah Al-Fatiha. This is not just obligatory from the arkan, it is a pillar from the pillars of salah. Next, going into ruku', yani performing ruku'. Performing ruku' is from the arkan of salah. If you skip ruku', your salah is batil unless you make that up and perform sujood sahu. Then getting up from ruku', raf'a min, getting up from ruku' is from the arkan of salah. Then once you straighten yourself and you're at peace and at calm, after that performing the sujood on 7 of the body parts, and we discussed what they are. The front of the feet, where your toes are, and then your knees, that's 4, the hands, the 2 hands, that's 6, and your forehead with your nose at this place, and that is 7. Making sujood like that. Some brothers and sisters, they go into sujood and their feet come up. Their feet are raised from the ground. And the whole sujood, they don't have the feet down at the same time. This makes your salah batil. So you have to be very careful about this issue. Tayyib. So from sujood, then getting up from sujood. And sitting bayna sajdatain. Some of the brothers and sisters, they make sujood, and before they're even sitting, they go for the next sajda. It's the pecking like the hen. And the Prophet ﷺ forbid this. And if you don't sit between the 2 sujood at least enough that your bones return to their place, you skip that sitting bayna sajdatain, your salah is batil. There are hadith to show this. Tayyib. Then the final tashahhud. And the last one, if there's only one, then it's the final one. If there are 2, then the last one. Tayyib. And then reciting that tashahhud, at-tahiyyatu lillahi wa salawatu. This recitation and the sitting, these are 2 different arkan from the arkan of salah. Then the salat ala nabi, saying Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin ila akhiri, until the end. This salat ala nabi is from the arkan of salah. And there are clear that Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawziyah, he has a book about salat in general, salat ala nabi, and then he has an entire about 20 pages of this discussion, and he proves that that is a rukn from the arkan of salah. Then the taslim, saying assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and then to do all of this in order, and to do all of it calmly. And these are 14, inshallah ta'ala. We will discuss them in detail. I'm just giving you a summary. And these are the arkan of salah. And this is what we find in the madhab of Shafi'i, as well as the madhab of the Hanabila and the Malikiyah, as in the Risala of Ibn Zayd, and in Umdah and other books of Zad al-Mustaqni' and Dalil al-Talib of the Hanabila. The Ahnaf, they give a different number, and they give 6 arkan. One of them, the first takbir, then the qiyam, then they said just recitation, and ruku' and sujood, and the final tashahud. But inshallah we'll discuss all of them. So first of them, al-qiyam, the standing. That you must stand in the fard salawat. First off, we find that this is according to the ijma' of the Muslim ummah. Yani by the consensus of the Muslim ummah, that is from the arkan of salah, from the essential aspects to stand in salah. Without khilaf, the Ahnaf, the Hanafi madhab, the Maliki madhab, the Shafi'i madhab, the Hanbali madhab, the Zahiri madhab. Ibn Mundhir in his Awsat, he mentioned that there is ijma' of the ummah upon this. And he gives ayat from Quran, and he gives a hadith. For example, the hadith that is sahih, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to perform the salah while standing, and if you are unable to, then by sitting, and if you're unable to, then on your side. So there is the order of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as well, that you make salah standing. But if you are not able to, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't put a burden more than you can handle. Maybe you have back problems, maybe you have age issues, maybe you have some other problem, you cannot stand physically. Not that you're lazy, but you physically cannot stand, then you can sit down and make salah. Maybe you can't sit, then you pray on your side. And inshallah we'll discuss how that's done under the bab Salat al-Marid, inshallah ta'ala. Shaykh Salih al-Fawzan, in his book Mulakhas al-Fiqh, he says the above mentioned hadith proves that standing is a rukn in salah while performing the fard salah, as long as one is able to. If you are unable to due to illness or other issues, then one is allowed to sit down and make salah. And this is proven from the example of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who at times in his life had hurt himself, and he sat down and made the salah. And he sallallahu alaihi wasallam led the people sitting, and he ordered the people to do the same. This is from Shaykh Salih al-Fawzan. He said the regular imam of a masjid leads the people salah sitting due to a valid shari'i excuse, and the people should do the same. What does that mean? If somebody is a regular imam in a masjid and he hurts himself, he can have somebody else lead salah, that's fine. But if not, and he leads salah as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did, and he prays sitting, then the imam is there to be followed. The people, even though you're able to, you will sit and make your salah. And this is something that people don't realize, but there are sahih ahadith, and these are the books of the ulama. Then the hadith that is being authenticated and reported by Shaykh Salih al-Fawzan, this is a sahih hadith, there is no doubt on this either. Another point of benefit is that for the nafil salawat, you're able to sit down and make a nafil salah. What is the proof for that? The proof for that are the sahih ahadith, and there are many, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he used to be in safar while traveling, for the fard salah, he would get off his camel or his horse, and he would stand up and make the salah. But for the nafil salawat, he would point his camel toward the qibla, and he would start to make salah while sitting, and he would continue while sitting. But this is not the best way, because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us in the Sahih Hadith that the salah of the one who is sitting is half the reward of the salah who is standing. So regularly we see in some countries, brothers and sisters who are able-bodied, they make the fard salah standing, they make some of their nafal standing, and then their ghair muqida, they make them sitting regularly. Even though they're not tired, they have no physical issues, and they shouldn't do that, because they're getting half the reward for that salah. But if you're traveling, Or if you're tired and you cannot stand, even though you can, but you're tired, and you sit down for nafil salawat, this is jaiz because of the sahih ahadith. But for fard salah, no. Now the question, what if you're on a plane? So, if you're going to go on a plane, the best thing, try to make salah before you get on the flight or after the flight. Many times, if the flight is not too long, you can make jama' bain al-salatayn, and we'll discuss about that in the later babs. And you can pray before you board the plane, if you are musafir by that time, or you can pray after you land, inshaAllah ta'ala, as long as you are able to, in accordance, meaning Dhuhr and Asr. You cannot combine Asr and Maghrib. You cannot combine Isha and Fajr. You can combine Dhuhr and Asr in Dhuhr's time or Asr's time. And you can combine Maghrib and Isha in Maghrib's time or Isha's time. And when you can do that, the ahkam we'll cover later, inshallah. So if you're able to do that, do that. If not, like you're flying from LAX to Jeddah, it's a long flight. Here, many of the airlines will allow you to stand up and make salah. And I'm not putting a plug for any airline, I don't get paid or sponsored. But, for example, Saudiya, the Saudi airline, they even have a big musalla inside the plane. You can get up and you can make salah, you can make jama'ah. MashaAllah, may Allah reward them for doing that and making it easy, you can do that. Other airlines like Emirates and others, and Malaysia and Pakistan and other countries that I've flown their airlines, alhamdulillah, they will allow you to get up and make salah easily without a problem. There's an area in the back or in the front where the food is prepared, and you can tell them, I'm going to make salah, and you put your sajada, they show you the qibla, and you make your salah. If you start your salah facing the qibla, and then the plane moves, it's not your fault, and you make your salah. And this is your fard salawat. You know, the 4 is 2, you're a musafir, so it will be easy, inshallah. Maghrib is 3, Fajr was 2 to begin with. Tayyib. Now, if you're sitting on the plane, and you want to make nafil salawat, long rak'at, you can. Sit in your seat, find the qibla, face the qibla the best you can. Start your nafil salah sitting, and make it as long as you like. And even if the plane changes direction for nafil salah, your salah is still fine. So these are ahkam for standing, and hopefully this will benefit us. Now, the last thing about planes and praying. What if you're on an airline that doesn't allow you to stand up? You know, there is times where those 2 salawat will be on that time. You cannot do it early, you cannot do it later, and the airline tells you if you stand up, or calling the air marshal and you're going to Guantanamo or whatever. You know, I don't know, they have a new place now, out of date. So, in that situation, make your salah sitting. Because you're darura, you're unable to. But as long as you can, strive hard to stand up, because for the fard salah, you have to stand. Inshallah ta'ala. Tayyib, inshallah, we will stop here for today. We'll begin with Takbirat al-Ihram, inshallah, in the next dars, and go over all of the arkan and their proofs, and the khilaf of the madahib. And this is very important because you need to learn these. This fard al-ain upon every one of us. Jazakumullahu khairan.
إلا تنصروه فقد نصره الله